What's up, everybody? This is Coach Coventry from Immaculata High School representing the OHSF all-decade team. We're adding another receiver to this list, another prominent name out of the east end of Ottawa, Central East. Again, without name dropping, I'm going to let him do his own introduction. Take it away.
All right, I'm Daniel OLADEJO. I played at Colonel By from 2013 to 2016. Those are the 3 years that I played. I now play at the University of Ottawa. It's a pleasure to be here with Coach Covey. He's a good coach of mine. He coached me back when I played junior GeeGees. So I appreciate the honor and appreciate being here with you.
Yeah, lots of love for that junior GeeGees organization and stuff like that. It was great to get to coach you. And before we even talk about those years and all that stuff leading up to that, sure. Would love to talk about your pathway into football. How did you find yourself getting into the sport? Who influenced you? Players, coaches, whatnot. Start from the beginning and take it to right before high school.
All right, so all the way at the beginning, I was born in Nigeria, in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So obviously, no one's playing football there. Really, it's soccer. It really is the focus there. I lived in Nigeria for 2 or 3 years, and I moved to New Orleans. Lived in New Orleans for a couple months, and then Hurricane Katrina hit, so we moved to Texas. So in New Orleans and Texas is where I really fell in love with football. Obviously I'm growing up in Texas. I lived in Texas for 5 years before I moved to Ottawa. Growing up in Texas, everyone was playing football. You know what I'm saying? It's a culture. It's like a way of life. We had, like, in the high school I was supposed to go to, Cinco Ranch High School, we'd have helicopters flying over with college scouts and college coaches. You got like 25,000 people at a high school game. So it's something that, it's really a way of life down there. So that's where I fell in love with football, playing in the playground. I never played officially. I never played club in Texas, but just playing in the playground with my friends, kind of watching football. I started watching college football down there. So I was a big Texas Longhorns fan when they had Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley and all them guys. So I was a big fan of Texas football, and then moved to Ottawa. And at that point, it's like, I'm like, at this point, my dreams to play football are over, because I didn't even know the CFL existed. You grow up watching the NFL, college football. You don't really hear about the Canadian Football League. So at that point, I'm like, oh, whatever, football is over with. But I get up here and I see that there's a passion up here too for the game. So I didn't actually start playing organized football till my grade 10 year in high school. I played touch football with my middle school team, Henry Monroe. We won a couple of championships there, a few board championships, and then didn't play until grade 10. Sorry, I was supposed to play in grade 9, but my big brother, who played at Colonel By, he was on the football team as well. He was in grade 12 when I was in grade 9. He was a receiver. Mm-hmm. He told me not to play because I was too small. Right, I was like 5'5", 5'6", maybe like 150 pounds. So yeah. I wasn't really in football shape at that time. Yeah.
And Colonel By is only hosting a varsity team at that point, right? There's no
exactly. We don't have JV. So there's actually there's a picture of me. It's funny. There's a picture of me like doing the sticks at one of the games when I was in grade 9, and it's from behind me. You can see how small I was and how skinny I was compared to the people on the field. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't play that year. So in grade 10 was my first year playing. Played receiver. That was my first time playing football. Really, all the times before I played receiver, running back, DB. But my first time playing tackle football, grade 10, was I played receiver. I played DB as well. It was a pretty good season. I can't remember when we placed, but I know we didn't really make it that deep of a playoff run. Played receiver, played DB. Had a couple good games. Didn't really make that great of an
Do you remember who was throwing the ball to you at that point? Who was the quarterback back then?
10. Who's the quarterback? Jake Rector. He plays hockey, but he's a hockey player. So yeah, he was my quarterback in grade 10. We had a decent team. We had a few athletes. We had some really good guys that could have played university, but stopped playing.
Hey, you can name drop, man. Who are some of these names? These are guys.
So we had Sean Walsh was playing receiver. He was a good ball player. These are all guys that didn't play after. Like, they only played in high school, but I thought they could have played after. We have Rakeem, great linebacker. He definitely could have played university ball. We had a few guys that were my year. So Nathan Amesbury, he ended up playing at Waterloo. David McNair, he plays with me at U Ottawa. Cole Crosset, he played at Waterloo. He transferred from Mac to Waterloo. He committed to Mac initially. So yeah, we had some guys, and Ian White, he was a great receiver. He was my star receiver when I was playing quarterback in grade 12 eventually. So yeah, we had some guys. Grade 11, my role with the team kind of evolved. Started at receiver. I think I started in grade 10 too, but I wasn't really doing much. Yeah, grade 11.
Blocking receiver, as they call it.
Exactly.
They put you really out of the side.
And I was still pretty small. Pretty small, so I wasn't like, doing anything crazy. And then actually, I guess the beginning of my real journey was grade 9. I played rugby. That was the first time playing a contact sport, and I was good. I was really good at
taking some
rugby.
contact or avoiding contact at that point.
Exactly. So I was at like grade 9. I was okay at rugby, but grade 10, I was like, that's when I was like really good at rugby. So I was playing fly half and scrum half. So it's just running with the ball was what I was good at. Mm-hmm. So I kind of developed my skills in terms of elusiveness and agility in playing rugby, and then it translated onto the football field. So grade 11 got a little bigger, got a little stronger, a little faster. I got cut from the basketball team, which is why I had more time to train for football and for rugby. So so that's how kind of things evolved into grade 11. Played a bigger role on the team. Scored a couple touchdowns as a receiver, and then grade 12 kind of.
Now, before we get into that grade 12 year, talking about grade 10, 11, was Colonel By's Coach Baird and the other guys who are on the staff, they have a pretty crazy offensive system. Were they always running these trick plays and these wildcat formations from the beginning of time, or was it just kind of something they added when you got into your grade 12 year? Because myself as a coach, I'm seeing even now they run a ton of that. In 2018 and 2019, in the last 2 years we played them. Coach,
the thing about Baird is he was our head coach and the offensive coordinator. The thing about Baird is his offenses won't look the same from year to year. Like, we had our base plays, but he did things, he adjusted to the players he has, which I think is a very good trait as a coach. So grade 10, 11, we ran pretty much the same offense in grade 10 and 11. Where we had a drop back quarterback. It's we're running the ball a lot of power runs, and then we had our concepts out wide. But grade 10 and 11, it looked pretty vanilla in terms of an offense. Mm-hmm. But in grade 12, when we don't have a drop back quarterback, he pulled me aside. He told me that it's going to be like a video game where he has a controller and he just let me run free. And
a video game, indeed, it was. We have to tell the viewers to go check your highlight tape when we drop this. I'm telling you,
it worked.
That highlight tape was crazy to watch. Like, it was. I'm gonna let you talk about it. That grade 12 year at Wildcat quarterback, man. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Initially in practice, you don't know, like before the season, you don't know how good you are. You don't know what other teams look like. So we were just like, we're practicing. We're like, okay, having fun with it. And then our first game, we played Ashbury at their like home opener or whatever. And they actually had like people on the sidelines. They had fans, like their parents are all there. So I'm like, dang, and this is my first game at quarterback. I'm getting the ball every play. Like, there's no question about it. So I'm nervous, but man, we were just running read option. That was the majority of our offensive scheme. We ran a lot of read option. I looked to the sideline. Coach is calling power lead left. That was our go-to play. We had our two studs on the line, David McNair and Nathan Amesbury, on the left side of the line. So we just ran power behind them. It was my read. I had Rudy Nakem, who played at Waterloo for a couple years at running back. So it was either giving him the ball or I'm taking it. And it was a movie. I'm telling you that year I think I scored like 21 touchdowns in the 7 games.
Yeah, Coach Baird mentioned you have a record actually for most touchdowns by a quarterback, rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. Not only at Colonel By, but actually in Nikasa history, straight up. So so you own that record for most rushing touchdowns by a QB.
Yeah, we ran the ball a lot, and it's like my receivers. I felt bad, like I'm not throwing you the ball, but we're winning. You know what I'm saying? So I felt bad. Like I wasn't really throwing the ball, but I did throw the ball every once in a while. I do have a bit of an arm, and Bear knew that. So I throw the ball downfield every once in a while, and if we needed to. But yeah, it was a good time in grade 12.
Yeah, I'm sure guys like Ainsworth were probably happy you were throwing it sometimes because he needed his reps. But shout out Ainsworth.
But shout out Steven, because I think I threw Steven the ball like once or twice. We played St. Pat's. St. Pat's was the game I threw the ball the most. I think I threw for like 3 or 4 touchdowns that game, and I ran for like 3 or 4 as well.
You're Michael Vicken at Lamar Jackson all day there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I could actually throw. People didn't know I could actually throw, because the thing is, the linebackers would creep up. We're always running power. We're always running read option. The linebackers would creep up, and the corners weren't expecting it.
On this list, you're forget receiver. You're just athlete. We'll just throw the athlete.
That's what I went to Ottawa as. Athlete, ATH.
Hey, and that's part of why you ended up on this list. It's the dominance and being able to play multiple positions. Like, on this list we find you a position, but the reality is getting onto this list means you were dominant and you probably never came off the field, and that's again holding those records.
They didn't want me. They didn't want me to play defense. Coach Barry didn't let me play defense. I wanted to play defense, and I wanted to return kicks.
Yeah.
But they didn't want me to get hurt, so I only played quarterback. And then in the finals, I played like the second half of the final game of the season. I played defense and I returned kicks. But other than that, they didn't want me to play defense, so I couldn't do that.
So talking about that grade 12 season, like you said, it was a bit of a movie, and you got that record and whatnot. Going into that, the season ended up with a bit of a playoff run there, heading towards, what was it, tier 2 at the time, or were you guys OFSA?
Yeah, it's tier 2.
Still a really competitive league. It makes no difference. It's just based on where the coach sees the team. But yeah, you guys had some guys, and regardless of what tier you play, if you're good, and you'll get recruited.
Exactly.
So the way we look at it in that one is, just asking you the question, like, your grade 12 year, regardless of what you were playing and what you were doing, it's a heavy recruiting season. And, would love for you to mention to the student athletes, out there that are going through the recruiting process. And, it's a little different right now with COVID, but, having played a season and then, finally getting some notoriety, and even in a grade 10 or 11 season, and finally getting to talk to coaches, what's the mindset like? Where's your head at? Where did you see yourself going forward into that starting in grade 11, going to grade 12 year?
So recruiting, it started for me in grade 11. At the end of grade 11, I started kind of getting the attention. I wasn't really thinking about, like, I don't even know what I was thinking. I wasn't really thinking about playing post-secondary football. I was kind of a toss-up between football and rugby. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I didn't really know what the post-secondary field was like in terms of athletics. But after grade 11, I kind of started getting a bit of attention, and then obviously grade 12 was when it kind of blew up for me. So my mindset was, I was just trying to find a place to play, really. But with me, it's academics are really big in my household. Both my parents are academics. My dad has a PhD, so it's like they're looking for me to do school, and then football is kind of a secondary thing. So it was really academics and kind of football as a secondary thing. So my top 2 was Queens and U Ottawa, because I'm a business student. So Queens Commerce is really, everyone knows about Queens Commerce, and then U Ottawa, the tougher school of management. So it was between them 2, and I was going to go to Queens. I really was. I went on my visit. Coach Phil Roberts, who I ended up coaching at U Ottawa, but he was coaching at Queens at the time.
And shout out Coach Phil Roberts, the OG Colonel By coach, actually.
OG, real OG.
He was right before Coach Baird. He coached when I was in high school. So that tells you, yeah.
And his family too, his wife, Miss Roberts, was my gym teacher in middle school. So yeah, like we're connected. But yeah, he took me on my visit to Queens, and I was ready to commit. I gave him my verbal. I'm pretty much sold. And then I didn't even go on my visit anywhere else. I was getting recruited to Acadia, Carleton. I didn't go on a visit anywhere else. I was ready to go to Queens. But last minute, because U Ottawa was in the city, last minute I went on my visit to U Ottawa. Just kind of like, let me see what's going on. Let me take a visit. Talked to Coach JV, our DC, who was actually the one that sold me. Sat me down and talked about the advantages of kind of growing or going to school in the city you grew up in, and you have connections here, you're in business, so it's viable to kind of use those connections that you've already built. So that was kind of what sold me. And then I talked to Coach B, and I think I signed in April. So signed my letter of intent, and yeah, I guess it's history.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. You know, I mean, it goes to show you that the recruiting process can take you so many ways. Like you said, you were headed to Queens, and then all it took was one good conversation. And it's important to encourage, you know, these young student athletes to have these conversations. And obviously, with COVID, we can't take visits, but those virtual visits and those Zoom meetings, like, don't ever say no to a coach when they ask you to.
Take them. That's my advice to the younger guys coming up. Like, I've talked to a few, Jerry Delorme, I talked to him while he was getting recruited by U Ottawa. And my big advice, like, no matter what, I mean, I want you to come to U Ottawa because you're a baller, but no matter what, take your visits, talk to those guys. You never know. Like, even at the end of the day, if you don't go there, you have a relationship with a coach somewhere else, you know, and that relationship, you could capitalize on it later down the road. So, I mean, take your visits, talk to guys, ask them hard questions. Like, ask them the questions you want to know. A lot of recruits may be scared to, like, oh, like, how much money are you offering? Nah, but ask them. Let them, like, get your money. You know what I'm saying? So you got to know. You have an idea. You spend 4 or 5 years of your life there. You got to know. So the way
I've always looked at it is, when you are getting recruited, you have the power. It's the second that you sign, that's when you give up the power. So you have every right to, you know, ask those questions, like you said. And that's super important to get clarity as to where you end up, as to where you want to end up in that situation. Now, going back to your recruiting process, of course, you said, you know, you committed to U Ottawa, Telfer School of Management, and you know, great school, all that stuff. But, you know, for yourself, immediate playing time, you know, just didn't end up being a thing. And for young guys who are, you know, listening to this podcast, you're a guy that, you know, has had to put some work in. You know, you did that spring league with us, you know, with the junior GeeGees program, and then you moved on to U Ottawa. But for you, you know, like, I don't know where your mind was at going into your first year, but it must have been a bit of an eye opener, to say the least.
Oh, for sure. The thing is, because I hadn't played my most recent year of football before going to university, I played quarterback. I wasn't a refined receiver. I signed as an athlete, went into U Ottawa as an athlete, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be playing DB or receiver. I was there to play football. That's all I knew. So I wasn't a refined receiver. I'm going against coming in with guys that are refined at their position. Some guys have gone to CEGEP. They've gotten that higher level coaching, and I wasn't. I mean, the most coaching I got was from junior GeeGees and from Panthers, and that was for like a summer. You know what I'm saying? So.
Can I just say, I really appreciate you saying you got a good coaching at junior GeeGees.
Yeah, you guys did it. Coach Covey and McLaren, y'all boys did a good job.
Good. I don't want to be known as a coach who just didn't do anything for you. So I really respect this.
Y'all boys did a good job. A lot of the things I was hearing from you guys, I went on to hear the same things at U Ottawa. So
Hey guys, the proof is in the pudding for these student athletes listening out there. Like,
Yeah,
we've been through the process. We're not just talking
yeah.
out of nowhere. Like, we've been through it. Coach Colbin, who was with you, and who was our OC,
Hmm.
he was the QB at the GeeGees. Like, so
Yeah.
what do you
He's on a poster. He's on the
yeah,
poster in Montpetit. Yeah.
that's what I mean. So it's like, when we talk to these guys and these student athletes, we're not just saying nonsense. It's, we've been there, done that, and we
Y'all
want to
boys have
make
been
sure.
there.
Yeah. And now it's your turn. And talk to me about that first year. Get that eye opener.
So yeah, it was tough. I mean, you put so much time and effort into something, and it's just like it seems like you're not getting the results. Obviously, you're thinking, I want to play. You might not be necessarily fully aware of the complete situation, as in like, oh, am I better than this guy, or like, what does this guy have with me? You're just kind of seeing it. I'm not playing, and it's a painful experience. I didn't play for 2 years. I didn't even dress a game for 2 years. So it's like, you guys that you came in with are dressing and they're getting some snaps. And I mean, I was on the sideline in the tracksuit cheering. So it was a tough time for me. 2 years of just pretty much, I mean, and then you're trying to balance school at the same time. So you're struggling, like keeping up with school and football. The learning curve is very steep. We had a very, very big playbook. I think we had the biggest playbook in the league. So it's just struggling with all those different things at the same time and not playing. It can be very hard to get discouraged, but the biggest thing is mindset. I'm happy that I went through those 2 years of not playing, because it helped me develop the mindset that I have now, and that helps me succeed now. Is like, man, either way the coin falls, I'm gonna put in work. That's it. I'm gonna work hard, whether the reward is in my face or if it's a year ahead. Like, I'm gonna put in the work now and put in the sweat and the blood now, day to day, and then eventually that result is going to come. So I mean, I'm glad that those 2 years happened to me, because it helped me develop the work ethic that I have now. It's like, it's concrete commitment. I have it on my wall, concrete commitment. Every day I wake up, I'm gonna put in work. I'm gonna get better in some way, shape, or form. So eventually, when I get to where I'm going, I know that I put in the work to get there. So it's that much sweeter. You know what I'm saying?
That's a beautiful sentiment. And, it was definitely all roses for you in 2019. You finally got that breakout year, and would love to hear about that season. For us who were watching from a distance, we were really happy that it came to you that way. But I'd love for you to give us an inside track as to how 2019 went for you personally.
Yeah, so like I said, not dressing a game for 2 years, and then you come in to training camp and you're starting, and it's like, you're gonna be playing week 1. So it's like, I mean, you got to deal with the nerves and everything, but man, it was just good to see kind of the hard work paying off a little bit. I didn't even have the season that I wanted to have. I made some plays here and there, but I think I'm capable of so much more. So it's like, good, I got my foot in the door, and like, but man, people haven't even really seen what I'm fully capable of. So it was good to get that experience, get my feet wet. Now I know what it's like. I'm adjusted to the game speed, and I know that I can be successful in this league. So it's nice to go into next season with that confidence that I gained from the 2019 season, and the experiences that I had, and getting familiar with everything. So now that I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to ball.
Yeah, and for the student athletes, that maybe perhaps haven't gone to a Panda game or anything like that, can you describe that first Panda game for you? Starting in that game, what was that like for you?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's 26,000 people, and half of them want you to succeed, and half of them are chanting profanities at you and things like that. So it's a crazy experience. You kind of like, you jug out the tunnel, whatever, the first like 2 minutes of the game, like, you're nervous like this, especially if it was my first season dressing. So I'd only played 3 or 4 university games before that. So I'm nervous. I'm on a sprained ankle. Like, I was nervous, and my first catch was too close. I was out of bounds. I couldn't get a foot down. But once I got that first catch, it was like 2 minutes into the first quarter. Then I was like, okay, it's just football. Like, this is just what I do on a daily basis. So, but yeah, with the crowd, and with that much kind of riding on the game, like, you and Carlton have been talking trash back and forth the whole week. I mean, Carlton's on their social media doing all what they do, and you know, you feel like there's a lot of pressure riding on that game, but once you get in it, it's like, man, this is just football. It's just another game. So it's a great experience for sure, especially having experienced it on the sideline for 2 years, and then finally getting to play in it. It's a very great experience. But yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's just another game of football. And the game you really want to play in is that Yates and that Vanier. So it's just the Pandas. It's nice for the city. It's nice for the kind of like, okay, we beat our city rivals, but you really want to get to the Vanier. That's what you're
really trying to for sure. And you know, as somebody who's had to play Laval a few times, being a Bishop's grad myself, that road to that Vanier is always through another big stadium. That's playing 16,000 people. They sell that place out too. I've been lucky enough to play there, but also watched Laurier take a huge L to Laval there once in a packed stadium. And it's, you know, the point I'm getting at is these two vibes, you know, 26,000, 16,000, whatever. Like you start to realize, you know, like, yeah, it's a lot of fun and it's boisterous, but you know, like you said, it is football at the end of the day, and you got to go and do your job, and you've been working on it. And 2021, you know, for you, it seems to be like it's going to be another breakout year, another chance to take a step. And lucky enough for you, and I mean, shout out to Coach Baresi. I'm sorry it didn't work out the way that he wanted, but you have a great opportunity with the new head coach, Coach Belfoy, who's taken over the reins, and would love to talk about where you see yourself going forward in 2021 with Coach Belfoy, and even Coach Taylor as your receivers coach now, somebody I used to battle against in our Bishop's Concordia days.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start with Coach Taylor. I mean, that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that recruited me to UAuto. He was a recruiting coordinator. So he's the guy that got me there. Special teams coach. So everyone kind of goes through him, especially if you're in first year. You're trying to enter on the field through special teams. So, but yeah, that's my guy. He switched to he was DB coach, switched to receivers. It's kind of like he's been growing as a receiver coach because that's something that was new to him, and I was growing as a receiver. So it's kind of like we were getting our growth in together. Like, I mean, I'm talking to him about drills. He's talking to me about drills. Like, things just get us better. Him as a coach, me as a player. So, yeah, we have a great relationship there. And then with Coach Belfoy coming in, I mean, he's a guy that has experience coaching in the CFL. He's coached in the XFL in the States. So he has experience. He was coaching the Spring League in Texas just before he came to UAuto. So it's really a blessing to have him coming in with the experience he has. He's coached professional receivers. I mean, the knowledge he has is just crazy. He's coached guys like Chris Rainey, the BC Lions, crazy playmaker. So when you see a guy with that much experience, that much knowledge, makes you just very hungry to soak up the information that he has to offer. And his big thing is he treats us like pros. So that's one of my favorite things about him. He treats us like pros, and for guys that are trying to get to that have aspirations to go to the league, it's something that you get an early kind of insight as to how professional coaches think, because he's fresh off. He was just coaching with the Alouettes, I think, a year or two ago. So it's nice to get that perspective, and the pointers he's given, they carry weight. You know, especially to me as a receiver, getting better. His pointers are professional pointers. That's like, okay, this is what they're doing at the league. If you can do this, then you know what I'm saying. So it's very important to me as a receiver, and also being a leader on the team, kind of feeling the way the team is reacting to him. So a lot of guys, I mean, very excited as to where the culture of the team is going, as to what he's introducing to us, the things that he's saying to us is things we've wanted to hear for a while. So we're very happy the direction of the team.
And I mean, you can mention also, like, he was the coach at UAuto before. He was in 2000. They won a Vanier with him as the head coach. So exactly. I think he's just kind of reinstating some of those championship values, perhaps. You know? Yeah. Exactly. Seeing a lot of 2000 stuff pop up on social media these days. You know, I think he's trying to bring back that vibe to the GeeGees, you know, you know, not, it doesn't have to be 2000, but, you know, remind people of, you know, what was good in 2000 and where people ended up. Yeah. Cause that was a solid team. And he's, again, one of the few coaches from UAuto. I think the other one was in 1975. to win a
Something like
championship.
that. Yeah. So
I mean,
he has a
yeah,
Vanier. That's a
yeah,
really big thing for me is
yeah,
that's championship experience. He's a championship caliber coach. So it's like, and the spring league he was coaching, they just won the championship as well. So you can tell the guy he's an accomplished guy. And one thing I really like about him is kind of an intangible, but his swagger is like, I mean, he has that swagger as a coach where it's like, okay, that swagger is gonna rub off on us as players.
yeah.
It's like, I mean, me personally, I'm a guy that's like, I like to look good, I like to feel good when I'm playing, and it's like, I like to think I have that swagger as well as an athlete and as a player. So it's like when you see a coach that kind of matches that, I mean, it's crazy. For example, this guy, like the first, I think like 6 training sessions we had, he was pulling up with different kicks every time. And we'd be like, oh, coach, your kicks are fine. He's like, nah, this is not even, you haven't even seen the full closet. He was playing like he had Air Force Ones, the Air Maxes. He's pulling up in like real kicks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah, for
like,
sure.
I mean, that's something we're like, okay, like this guy's legit. And he's telling us he's gonna get us right. We're gonna look good, play good, feel good.
Mm.
I'm all for it.
Beautiful. And it sounds like 2021 is shaping to be a big season for the GeeGees.
For sure.
But other than that, but going back to the Ottawa high school football and a student athlete's vibe, if you could give back any piece of advice to any student athlete going through Ottawa high school football right now, grade 11 or grade 12, what's the biggest piece that you could give back to them or take away about anything that you've gone through, so that perhaps their journey is a little easier going forward?
Yeah, so probably my biggest piece of advice is trust your process, trust your journey, because it's not going to look the same as the guy to the left or the guy to the right. Some people have more natural talent. Some people are more naturally gifted. But one thing that you can control every day is how you work, your mindset, how you work hard. I think with the current generation of guys coming up in Ottawa, I think there's a tendency to kind of look on social media and look to the left and look to the right and see the guys that are going D1, that are going to the States to play. And it's just, that's not everyone's path. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you might not go play at Clearwater and then go D1. You know what I'm saying? You might not. You might just play in Ottawa. And there's nothing wrong with it. You got to trust your journey, trust your path, your process. And the thing is, regardless of where you go, if you ball, you're gonna get opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can control how much effort you put in, how you care about it, and how you love the game and how you study it. But there's things you can do on a daily basis. Like you might not go play in the States, but you wake up in the morning, read a book about your mindset, and go to the gym and lift, and go to the field and run and do drills. And wherever you go, that mindset and that attitude is going to carry over to everything you do, and you're going to find success. You just got to put in the work on a day-to-day basis. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned was from Eric Taylor. So he said, like, what you do on a daily basis isn't, in terms of football, being a student athlete, it's not just football. You know what I'm saying? That discipline and waking up and going to lifts and going to runs, it's not just football. It's going to carry over into everything you do as a person, which is more important than being a football player, as a man. So you have to really trust your journey. It's not always going to be linear. It's not always going to be easy, but those scars, those bumps in the road are going to help you become a better athlete, a better football player, and a better person in the long run. So that's my advice to young guys coming up.
And I think that's a beautiful sentiment to, wrap this up. And first off, just want to, again, congratulate you for making this OHSF all-decade list. No small feat. I know Coach Baird was very high on making sure that you were on this list, and it was, definitely a unanimous choice once your name was brought up. So first off, congratulations.
Appreciate that.
And then secondly, again, just reiterating that, really, really rooting for you in the city, 613 with all these guys coming back. I mean, I'm an Ottawa grad myself as post-secondary, so sorry, Ravens, I'm going to have to cheer for the other side. Yeah, and it's been beautiful to see your journey. And as someone who's a hard worker and has got there, I just really I really respect it, and I really respect your craft, and I really hope to see, you know, a 2021 be another step forward in your journey.
Appreciate that. Everyone, you got to look out for us. You got to look out for the GeeGees, and you got to look out for Daniel OLADEJO. I think it's going to be a great season for me personally and for the team. So, I mean, I appreciate the support from you, from other coaches in the city. Shout out Coach Baird. That's my guy. Shout out Coach Crossett and Chapman also at Colonel By. Those are my guys. So, man, I appreciate the love for sure.
Awesome. And on that note, that's the OHSF all-decade list, adding another receiver. This was Daniel OLADEJO from Colonel By High School. Technically an athlete, if you really want to call him that. Still holds the record for the most rushing touchdowns in OHSF history. And we're going to remind you of that as we head out. But thank you again, Daniel, for your time, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
All the best.
You too.